you have shared a recipe with us, which
Yeah.
sounds really good. For those of us in America, we'll have to convert the ingredients
Oh, yes,
because
sorry.
we pots and teaspoons and that kinds of we don't
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, if you love Earl Grey tea, it's really, really yummy. And I don't know about like you guys, but in Australia we can get this thing called French Earl Grey, which is like Earl Grey, but it's got a bit more of a floral taste to it as well. So it's got that Earl Grey taste, but then it's a bit of, you know, I don't know how to explain it. It's like it's a bit more sweet because of the floral
Oh,
notes to it. Oh.
uh-huh. Well, that sounds really good.
Yeah, because it was hard. You asked me for a non-caked dessert recipe, and it's like, oh, but all I make is cake, so it was a bit hard.
I know how that goes. A
Yeah,
lot of times that's all you have time for, especially
I
when
know.
it's the bake. So yeah, but it does sound really good. And then we have the directions for it. So this is basically like a
It's like a
kind of a
sugar
shortbread
cookie.
type of
Yeah,
cake.
or a shortbread recipe, and then all you do is I put the leaves. I mean, I kind of blended the leaves in with the butter and stuff, but you know, so you can see there are chunky pieces of the actual leaves in there. If you don't like, and it does get stuck in your teeth a little bit, but if you don't like that aftertaste of the tea and everything, you could blend it a little bit more fine, in the food processor. And all I've done is just roll the dough into logs. I put it in the freezer for a bit, and then as and when I need it, you take it out and you just cut it, and then you just bake it, and it's really quick. And they make great gifts too. So
Very nice. Yeah.
yeah,
Just make up a roll of it, give it to a friend, and they can make their
yeah,
cookies whenever they want.
yeah. Oh well, I meant you could bake it for them, but okay, that too.
Yes, you could bake it for them.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, they look delicious.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So let's move on to our question and answer. I'm going to try and find our questions here. Um, okay. For our first one, it says, I would love to learn how to cover barrel or double height tiers.
Hmm.
So my fondant keeps splitting on the top edge when I cover in the traditional way, and wrapping leaves seams. So do you have any tips on that?
Wrapping it. Sorry, what did you say?
So if it basically she's saying if she puts the fondant over the
Hmm.
traditional way, it tears. If
Hmm.
she tries to just wrap it around the
Hmm.
cake, it leaves seams.
Yeah, so you need when you do double barrel cakes, which I get asked really often, is you need to design to suit that shape, So I would hardly ever design a double barrel cake that is completely plain because you're just asking for trouble. So, you design to suit it. So if I usually the method that I use is to wrap it, and it does have a seam, so it has a seam down one side and a little bit on top. And with that, you need to design. So whether you design stripes or whether if you do striking piping or something like that, it takes away a lot of the attention. And with the seam at the little bit at the top, put flowers or something like that. The other option is, if you cover it top down, is to just cover it top down halfway, and then you can do like a little bit of a pattern at the bottom that allows you to put another piece around. Because covering it top down, although possible, it is quite difficult and you have to work really quickly and you have to roll out a ginormous piece of fondant. So my preference is to always wrap it. And a lot of the times if you rub again here and what we did with the monkey, if you rub and you use not that much corn flour and you work quickly enough, the seam does tend to disappear most of the time. If not, then you need to design to hide it.
Okay, for those of you that are wondering, I forgot to mention this at the start. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and type them into the the chat box down at the bottom, and that's going to be where to ask the questions there. Okay, so next question is, can we cover with modeling chocolate rather than with fondant?
You can. I typically don't use that much modeling chocolate because I've only started using it in the last year or so. Because I'm a little bit lazy and you have to make modeling chocolate yourself and you can't, not like in the US. In Australia, you can't really buy it as is yet. If you could, I'd probably use it more often. Um, but you could cover it, but modeling chocolate doesn't bend around very well. It's a little bit more firm. So when you're trying to bend it around things, it's a little bit more stubborn. It doesn't just drape. It tends to hold its shape a little bit more. So although I suspect it is possible, it would be quite difficult to cover a whole cake with modeling chocolate.
Okay. And then how about your figurines? Do you do
Mhm.
your figurines with modeling chocolate ever?
No, because again, you have to make it, and then you have to make different colors, and um, yeah, but it is possible to do it with modeling chocolate, because it is a little bit more firm,
Mhm.
so it won't like sag or anything like fondant does. So you can do it out of modeling chocolate. But if you were to do something like the monkey, for example, it would be so heavy, especially at that size. So a lot of the times, especially when you're using cakes that have buttercream and things like that inside, it's all very soft, and if you put something really heavy on top, like chances are it has a tendency to get ripped off the cake or shift onto the cake as well. So if you're doing something like that, then I would suggest putting the figurine on after you get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And the fact that modeling chocolate blends really well, but it looks like your fondant blends really well too. And that kind of leads to a few questions. A few people have asked, what is your favorite fondant and gum paste to use?
In Australia, I use Bakehouse, so I mainly use Bakehouse for all my covering and things like that. But we got satin ice into the market a couple of years ago, which has been a godsend because prior to that, we never had different colored fondants really. So, and then I use satin ice for all my colors, so like red, black, especially the brown. I love the brown because it's a true brown. It's not like when you use gel paste brown, it turns the fondant a little bit red sometimes. So I like the satinized brown because when you tone it down with white, it still gives that brown, which is what I've used for the monkey. Um, and those two are the main brands that I use all the time. I don't really use anything else.
All right. Okay, we have another question. Where do you get your inspirations from?
A lot of the time is looking online. So when I look, sometimes it's just walking somewhere and I see like a pattern or a print that, oh, that's really cool. Or if I look through, especially like kids magazines and things like that, and I see, a little toy that I think is really cute. For example, like, oh, that little mouse is really cute. And then I'll start Googling, like mouse cartoons. And every time when I Google for things, I always look for the cartoon version of things because that's when their body shape and stuff is a lot more exaggerated, and you can see that when people draw them, you can see and you can break it down and go, oh, that's an egg shape or that's like a cone shape there, and you can start making it. And you can see how they place their eyes and stuff like that, and you learn a lot from that too. So that's mostly where or how it starts really.
Very nice. Yeah, I constantly think about this, but what would we do without Google? And what did we do before
I
Google?
know. I know, and recently Pinterest. So
Oh yeah, and Pinterest is, it's taken over and
I know. I know, and it's amazing. I mean, like starting out 7 years ago till now, like there's so much stuff available for decorators now that, I never had, and I'm sure people who started 10 years ago never had. And, it's amazing to see how we've evolved with all this.
yeah, it is amazing, and we are so lucky to have all of it. I
Yeah.
honestly, I think a lot of us get most of our inspiration from the internet, from Google or
Yeah. Or other decorators or,
other decorators, yeah, and Pinterest.
yeah.
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 Someone says we need to send you some modeling chocolate.
Yes, please. I've
So
seen in the US you can buy them in clubs. So
All right.